We will now go to Michael Hudson, who, as most of you will know, Michael Hudson is a very well-known commentator on economic issues, financial issues, particularly the role of the US, the dollar, etc. And we've agreed that Michael will provide some comments. So please go ahead, Michael.
Well, I'm certainly not a commentator on Iranian policy, and I haven't followed it, but I've learned a lot about the internal economy today. What I have followed is how the US sanctions and the war against Russia and China is breaking the whole world into two different parts. And the question that I can talk about is how Iran can relate to this global fracture that's occurring right now. And essentially, the whole aim of not only Iran, but other countries that are put in its same position is how do they resist the US aim of sanctions, which is to prevent countries from following any policy that does not enable US and NATO British investors to dominate them. Well, that's what created the whole revolution, counter-revolution in Iran way back in 1953, when Iran wanted to nationalize its oil industry. All of this still stems from Iran's attempt to follow what is its own economic development instead of development that steered along the US and neoliberal lines. And of course, there have been, first you had the Shah's dictatorship, and then you had the Islamic reaction to it. So all I can talk about is how the effect of the external world to Iran, not on Iran itself. And the aim of these sanctions is, as I said, to prevent it from developing its own economy. The aim is to hurt civilians, as the commentators here have pointed out, to hurt the lower classes. They're the main victims of sanctions, and that's been the case ever since America's sanctions against Iraq. And the hope was that this is going to lead consumers to somehow, as if all these countries are democracies, lead to a regime change that would say we would rather surrender to the United States and avoid the effect of sanctions and live in the short run for the time and borrow from the IMF to get us by until the US and NATO have completely taken over our economy. By that, maybe we'll either be dead or we can have a chance to emigrate. Well, the hope is Iran has tried to cope by it's been forced to go it alone, and at least by going it alone, even though there's the strong neoliberal design within it, at least it hasn't been running up the debt and dependency to the IMF that other countries have. So it may, in many ways, it's easier for Iran to escape from the US sanctions once there's a critical mass of other countries that are all together saying we've all been threatened and the United States is trying to divide us and to conquer us, but we now have a critical mass enough with Iran, Russia, China, many other countries all joining together. We don't need the dollar and Europe, and without the dollar and the US and Europe, we can go create not only a freedom, financial freedom, but an economic system that's based on our own mutual growth. And it looks like that's what you're going to be seeing. The world can now, for the first time since the Bandung Conference way back in Indonesia, they can say no to the US demands and no to letting US strategists tell them how to grow. Now, the question is, how will this breaking off the sanctions affect Iran's internal relations? I guess that's what you're really talking about. And so far, you've talked about how the past primarily. What I'm curious to find out in the discussion is who's going to benefit and how, and to what extent can the foreign aid to Iran that you're looking for end up promoting a altogether alternative to the US type of neoliberalism, an alternative to the IMF that would not tell Iran, well, you've got to impose austerity and have financial reform on your economy, an alternative to the World Bank, in favor of following China's Belt and Road initiative that will develop the overall economies and enable them to avoid the kind of debt trap that the current World Bank and IMF policies have put this in. Well, Iran can do this without the financial subjugation that's built into other countries. Other countries are going to have to literally repudiate what they've already owed to the IMF and the World Bank and withdraw. Iran's already virtually withdrawn from all of these in practice. So it has a head start in making it easy to join such a alternative group. The question is, what role can it play working with other countries to help design an alternative? The aim will be not only to break from the US sanctions, but to break on the whole global system that the sanctions have been designed to enforce, a financialization along lines that are controlled largely by the US and Europe. That's it's looking forward that I'm most interested in hearing from you. I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.